In this video, we're going to talk about selectors and how to get the right selector so you get at the element. This becomes particularly critical when we're trying to change the style on Bootstrap navigation. So notice on Bootstrap navigation that they use lots and lots of classes. And so being able to access the right one. Now here's a really simple version of a nav bar. Ours is going to have this. It's going to have a nav bar header. Instead of words here, it's going to have a logo, an image, and then we're going to have these then we're going to have a series of buttons. We actually have 5. But it's also going to have a drop down. So here we still have that same header, and then our menu, and then a drop down menu inside. So there's their page 1, 2, and 3. And then a submenu. So the nav bar gets more and more complex as we build it. And we need to be able to write selectors that move us down through it. And notice how some are different. So this has nav bar inverse. I have nav bar default because I wanted to start with the default coloring rather than that one. And then down here on this UL, I also have nav bar right, and you can learn about a right navigation up here. Oh, maybe it's down. Lots of examples here, and you're using kind of a combination of them. And here is on that UL where you have the nav bar right. So just depending, mine's actually on my main UL. And so you get to find, notice you can have multiple ones. So getting to know these is important. So if I go back to my page and I've got all this navigation, how do I get the selector right? So I have to be able to identify all these different classes. And one thing that's really important, you don't want to just start with, for example, I just don't want to go right here and just say, oh, I want navbar right. Well, let's try it. If I just say I want the class navbar right, and I want all of the A tags inside that. Now, this is what I do whenever I start a new rule. I need to make sure it's accessing the right element before I start, or else I just get frustrated. So I just start with background. Oh, this won't work in here. Let me move it over to another file. I noticed the coloring wasn't working right. So I'm just going to make the background red. And that way I know if I've got it. So I'm just looking for, in my navbar right, all the A links. So if I refresh this, and all of these are A links in that navbar right, and they're not working. So I haven't captured it yet. I used a correct selector, but what the deal is that Bootstrap has already used selectors. And so mine will only override the Bootstrap selector if mine is more specific. And the way I get it more specific is I add more details. And so I'm going to back up clear to navbar, then I'm going to go navbar right, then I'm going to go LI, and then I'm going to go A. So I have to be more specific. So not more correct, because my first one was correct. It just was, Bootstrap has used something more specific. So I'm going to back up, do navbar right. Now I'm going to do LI, and now I'm going to do A. And let's see, that just gives me more specificity, and then that makes my style rule more important. Okay, and there I got it. So notice how I was able to capture some of them, not these ones. So I have a more specific rule for this one and this one. So I'm only capturing the ones that don't have this more specific rule. But now I know I'm working with the right element. I've been able to capture the element so I can see what it is I have going on. And that's important, and it's a big deal to be able to get the right one. Okay, so if I wanted those other ones, how would I get to these? Well, this one also has a class current on it, right? So if I go find that, and I get down here, okay, here's my drop down, here's my drop down. Notice how these, let's see if I can find it. Oh, there's one that has a class current right there. So it's still inside navbar right, and it is still in an LI, but now the LI has current on it. And so, and the A tags are inside there. So let's go see if we can figure out how to capture that one. So now, by the way, don't panic. They won't stay red. I can get rid of the rule and it'll go away. Navbar right, li. Remember it was an li.current. Let's see if that's enough to make it specific enough. No. Oh, there. Now I was able to get it. So that's how it works. That you've got to figure out how to access it in a very specific way. And there's lots of details you can add. So if I go back to where I just want the A tags, now notice that this will get all of the A tags inside the navbar right, which should in fact also apply to the drop down. But now the drop down is more specific, so it's not in there. Another way I can be more specific is by adding a right arrow that said, okay, it has to be, this is an li that is right inside the navbar. So the navbar is its direct parent, or the li is the direct child. So if I go navbar right, there's my navbar right, and it'll apply then to all the li's that are a direct child. So that one, not this one, because notice how this one is inside a ul, so it won't apply to that one. So getting down to those drop downs is a little trickier because I've got to get down to where I have a drop down menu. And now notice where they are. Here's the drop, they're also inside a drop down menu. So I can add that to my style rule, or to my selector to get it more specific. So now instead of, I want to drop down. Oh, I forgot what was on it. I have to go back and get it exact. Drop down menu, and then an li, and then an a. So make it a class by putting a dot, drop down menu, and then li, and then a. And let's see what happens when I get this style. I refresh. Now see, it's no longer applying to those, but now it's applying to the drop down menus. And this is how you figure out which selector you need. Is make sure you're selecting the right thing, and then as soon as you're selecting the right thing, then you have the option to be able to style it. But until you get the selector right, writing style rules just doesn't make any difference at all. So always make sure you capture the right element before you begin making style rules.